The first time Emma held the twin babies in her arms, she felt a spark she couldn't explain. They were tiny, fragile, and abandoned at the doorstep of the tiny tailor shop where she worked, left with nothing but a note that read, "Please, someone love them." Emma was just 22, struggling to pay rent and keep the sewing business afloat, but as she gazed into their wide, innocent eyes, something inside her shifted. "Don't worry, little ones," she whispered, rocking them gently. "I'll take care of you." Years passed, and Emma poured every ounce of love she had into raising the twins, guiding them through scraped knees, school projects, and bedtime stories. She sewed clothes with extra pockets and laughter stitched into every seam. Her shop grew slowly, but the children's happiness became her real wealth. Then, on a rainy afternoon, the doorbell chimed, and a sharply dressed man stepped in. His presence filled the small shop like sunlight breaking through clouds. "Emma?" he asked, his voice calm but uncertain. I think these are my children." Emma's heart skipped. He was handsome, confident, the kind of man who walked into boardrooms and commanded attention. And yet, she remembered the vulnerability in the note left all those years ago. The twins ran to him, but Emma's hand stayed firmly on their shoulders, steady and protective. She realized then that love wasn't about wealth, power, or status. It was about who was there in the quiet moments, in the messy, beautiful everyday life. And as the man knelt down, tears forming in his eyes, Emma felt the first stirrings of a choice that could change all their lives. The man, Jonathan, introduced himself again, this time more formally. "I'm their father," he said, his eyes darting nervously between Emma and the twins. "I never knew about them. I didn't even know they existed." Emma studied him quietly. He was impeccably dressed, exuding confidence, the kind that turned heads in boardrooms, not playgrounds. But the glimmer of regret in his eyes was unmistakable. "They're happy," she said softly, "and they've always had everything they need here." Jonathan hesitated. "I want to be part of their lives now. I want to make up for lost time." Emma's heart ached. Part of her wanted to step back, to let the father she never knew return. But another part of her, the part that had changed diapers at midnight, stayed up through fevers, celebrated first steps and first words, knew that love couldn't be replaced overnight. Over the next weeks, Jonathan tried. He showed up with gifts, invitations to fancy events, and promises he couldn't always keep. The twins were curious, sometimes excited, sometimes confused. Emma watched them navigate this sudden new world with careful eyes. Then came the day when Jonathan's real struggle became clear. Despite all his wealth, despite the shiny cars and designer suits, he couldn't understand the simple moments, the quiet bedtime stories, the laughter during a spilled breakfast, the small acts of kindness that made a family whole. Emma realized something important: wealth could never buy what she had given freely all these years: time, patience, and unconditional love. That evening, as she tucked the twins into bed, Emma whispered, "Love isn't about being perfect or rich. It's about being there." And for the first time, Jonathan truly understood the depth of her gift. Weeks turned into months, and Jonathan tried harder to earn his children's trust. He invited the twins to his luxurious penthouse, introduced them to a world of sparkling lights and endless possibilities, but Emma noticed something missing. The twins laughed politely, but their eyes always sought hers, as if measuring whether they were truly safe. One rainy evening, Jonathan invited Emma to his office. "I want to do more for them," he said, sliding a contract across the polished desk. It was an offer to take full custody, with promises of a life she could never give them alone. Emma's heart tightened. "Jonathan," she said carefully, "I know you have money, influence, but you don't have what matters most. You weren't there when they cried in the night. You weren't there when they learned to walk. Love isn't a contract." He looked at her, frustration and sorrow mingling in his gaze. For the first time, the facade of the perfect CEO cracked. I thought I could buy my way back into their lives. I thought I could fix everything with wealth. Emma reached across the desk. You can't fix the past. But you can be here now, and you can be consistent. That's what matters to them. The twins burst into the office, tugging at Jonathan's sleeves, giggling. In that moment, he understood. Money had never been the key to their hearts. It was patience, presence, and small acts of selfless love, exactly what Emma had given them all along. Jonathan sank into the chair, tears spilling down his cheeks, and for the first time, felt humbled. Emma smiled softly, realizing that her years of sacrifice had created not just a family, but a mirror showing him the kind of man he could become. That night, as the twins slept peacefully, Jonathan whispered to Emma, "Thank you, for everything. I have so much to learn." And Emma knew that the hardest, most beautiful lesson had just begun.